Hello, good day. How are you today? You're good, right? Okay. Are you ready for today's lesson? You are? That is good. Today, in basic technology, we are going to be learning about friction and its effects. Okay? Our topic for today in basic technology is on friction and its effects. Are you ready for the lesson? Good. Friction is a force that oppresses the motion of objects when they come into contact with each other. Okay? Friction is the force that makes it hard for things to slide or move when they touch each other. Do we understand? Friction is the force that oppresses or resists the motion of objects when they come in contact with each other. It's what makes it hard for things to slide or move smoothly. Friction can slow things down, help us grip surfaces, and even create heat when objects rub against each other. Okay? We understand that, right? It is what makes it difficult for things to slide or move smoothly when they touch each other. Think of it as the reason why you don't sleep when you walk, and why brakes on a car work to stop it. It's like a roughness between surfaces that affects how things move. Okay, good. So we're going to be looking at the types of frictions we have. The types of friction. Static friction. This type of friction occurs when two objects are not moving relatively to each other but are in contact. Static friction. This is the type of friction that prevents an object from moving when you try to push it or pull it. It's the force that keeps a book from sliding on a table until you push it. Okay? So static friction is a friction that happens when things are not moving, like a book on a table. Kinetic friction. This is a friction that oppresses the motion of objects already in motion. This is the friction that acts on moving objects. It opposes the motion of an object that is already in motion, like the friction between your shoes and the ground when you walk. Okay? So kinetic friction, this happens when things are already moving, like when you push a book across the table. Another type of friction we have rolling friction. It applies to objects rolling on surfaces, like a ball or a wheel. Rolling friction is the resistance that occurs when an object rolls on a surface, just like a ball rolling on the ground. Do we understand? Rolling friction is like when you roll a ball or ride a bicycle. Okay? Fluid friction. This occurs when objects move through a fluid like air or water. So this type of friction occurs when an object moves through a fluid, like the resistance you feel when swimming through water. Okay? Fluid friction happens when things move through air or water. So these are the types of friction: static friction, kinetic friction, rolling friction, and fluid friction. Okay? Good. So now we are going to be looking at the effects of friction. The effects of friction. It slows down moving objects. Friction is the force that opposes motion, so it's responsible for slowing down moving objects. For example, it's what brings a rolling ball to a stop. Okay? It allows us to walk without slipping. Friction helps us walk, run, and stay sturdy on the surfaces. It's what prevents us from slipping when we're walking on the floor. Another effect of friction, it helps stop vehicles when brakes are applied. Brakes use friction to stop the vehicle when you apply them. In vehicles like cars and bikes, friction is essential for brakes to work. Okay? It creates heat when objects rub against each other. When objects rub against each other due to friction, they can create heat. This is why your hands get warm when you rub them together. When you rub your hands together, they get warm, right? So these are the effects of friction. It slows down moving objects. It allows us to walk without slipping. It helps stop vehicles when brakes are applied. It creates heat when objects rub against each other. Okay? Good. So next, we are going to be looking at laws of friction. Laws of friction. The force of friction is directly proportional to the normal force and the type of surfaces in contact. The normal force is the force that pushes two objects together. Type of surfaces, the roughness or smoothness of the surfaces in contact affects the friction. Rough surfaces create more friction than smooth surfaces. Directly proportional. This means that if you increase the normal force or have rougher surfaces, the frictional force increases. If you decrease the normal force or have smoother surfaces, the frictional force decreases. So the law of friction tells us that friction depends on how hard things are pushed together and the nature of the surfaces in contact. Okay? The law of friction says that friction depends on how hard things are pushed together and the type of surface they have. Rough surfaces create more friction. Do we understand? Good. Advantages and disadvantages of friction. Advantages and disadvantages of friction. Well, first of all, going to be looking at the advantages of friction. We can walk without slipping because of friction. Friction provides grip and prevents slipping. Friction allows us to walk, run, and move without slipping on various surfaces. It keeps us stable and safe. It helps us stop vehicles safely. So friction is crucial for the functioning of brakes in vehicles. It helps slow down or stop cars and bicycles, ensuring safety. Another advantage of friction, We can write, draw with pencils because of the right amount of friction. The right amount of friction between a pencil and a paper allows us to write and draw effectively. Okay? Disadvantages of friction. Friction makes things wear out, like shoes or tires. Friction between surfaces can lead to wear and tear. It can wear down the soles of shoes or the treads of tires. It uses up energy and turns it into heat. Friction transforms useful energy into heat, which is often wasted. This is why machines may become hot during operation. Sometimes, too much friction can slow down machines. Excessive friction can hinder the smooth movement of machines, reduce their efficiency. Okay, so these are the advantages and disadvantages of friction. Do we understand? Good. Applications of friction. Friction is used in various applications. Okay? Car brakes use friction to slow down or stop the vehicle. Friction is essential in the braking system of cars. When you press the brake pedal, friction between the brake pads and the rotating wheels slows down and stops the car. Okay? Tires have treads to improve grip and enhance friction. The friction between tires and the road surface provides grip and traction, allowing vehicles to move safely. Magnets rely on friction to generate electricity in generators. So generators use magnets and friction to create electricity. Okay? So today's lesson on friction and its effects. We understood it, right? We said friction is a force that opposes the motion of objects when they come in contact, right? Then we looked at types of friction. There are four main types of friction. We mentioned static friction, kinetic friction, rolling friction, and fluid friction. And these types depend on whether objects are moving, still, rolling, or moving through fluid, right? Then we also looked at the effects of friction. Friction slows down objects, helps us grip surfaces, generates heat when things are rubbed together, and can cause wear and tear on materials. We said all that. Okay. We also looked at the law of friction. The law of friction states that friction depends on the normal force and the type of surfaces in contact, and rough surfaces create more friction. Right? We also looked at the advantages of friction. Friction provides grip, makes braking possible, and enables writing and drawing with tools like pencil. We say that, right? The disadvantages. Friction causes wear and tear on materials, waste energy as heat, and so on. We said all that, right? And we looked at the application of friction. Friction is used in car brakes and so on. And we understood the lesson. Good. So next we're going to be looking at our assignment. I'm sure we are going to be able to do our assignment, right? Good.